Welcome back. Education is still in focus. 1 year down the line, how has the Tinubu administration done? But if you're doubting anything is done, the student loan is one of the things that has been a subject of debate. It's going to kick off on the 24th, which is just 48 hours from now, Friday, May the 24th. That's when everybody who is interested, they say they will start the first phase with, of course, students of tertiary institutions, 1.2 million or so, and some disbursements have been made. That's why we're having this conversation with the president of the National Association of Nigerian Students, Mr. Lucky Emonofe. Mr. Emonofe, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Yeah, good morning and good morning to viewers.
All right, give us some sense of what is in the works. There's a lot of conversation going on, but you have been around this issue for as long as it started. 24th is just 48 hours from now. How is the student community receiving this news?
Yes, it's a new dawn. It's a new development. We are excited. Nigerian students can't wait for the kickstart of this process. And we've long waited for this. And we are happy that we want to begin it this time around. And we thank those who have put all effort together to ensure that we are coming to the full implementation of this student loan. So it's a good development in the education sector. We are receiving it with all excitement and joy as students of Nigeria.
Are the students aware that based on the campaign promises, this is perhaps preparatory grounds for the autonomy of university, which may mean that education may be a bit more expensive in the future?
Yes, the beauty of it is the access to education. The students are aware, but even before this, I think there are steps we took. I think we presented an issue during the public hearings that this may lead to increment in tuition fee by management. We met with the ministry, and we are trying as much as possible to ensure that management don't increase tuition fee because of the fact that government want to assist or government want to cure those expenses. Because there are some persons who don't want to apply for the student loan. Let it still be affordable for them as well too. We understand that this may lead to increment in tuition fee and other charges in the school environment. But that's why NANS is always here to monitor, to continuously advocate for the interests of students so that it will not be a big burden on those who are not applying for the loan.
And, you know, we had begun to see increase in school fees even ahead of the implementation of the Students' Loan Act. And one just wonders if it would not, you know, become prevalent across universities after the Students' Loan Act has come fully into force. But talk to us about the amendments that have been put in place, removing the eligibility threshold for families that can access the loans, and you know, the 2-year grace period for which the applicant can return the loan. How satisfactory are these amendments, you know, to the students' union body and students in general?
Yes, those cumbersome condition has been totally removed. If you look at the advertisements, the condition given by the NAFOD now is just simple. Anybody can access that. BVN, by a student of a higher institution, you can access that. You don't need your parents to belong to earn so high number of salary, or you must belong to a big man or recommendation from a high-level person in the society. No, those things have been removed. Then on the issue of repayment plan, 2 years after NYC, if you are not working yet, the NEL fund, that is the law, make provision for extension. So you can swear affidavit in court that look at it, I'm not working. I think the NEFOD will consider additional 3 years. That is from that 2 years to 5 years. as well. Then when you start working, it is 10% of your salary. So it is easy now for Nigerian students to access it. It is not rigid any longer. So it is easy. So we are happy with that already.
Right, so income threshold removed, guarantor removed. So those are some of the bottlenecks, hurdles that you had identified earlier on. But in the previous conversation we had, just before you came on, we had, a representative from a private university, and the call is for also private universities to benefit from this. I understand that the government said state universities will benefit in this phase 2 of the rollout, but as of now, 1.2 million students in the public institutions owned by the federal government would benefit. So are you also open or are you hoping that private universities, private universities should benefit from this, or you consider them elite and this should not cover them?
I think the purpose of this is access to education. And those in private university, they don't lack access to education. So first, let's deal with these public schools first. If there is room to include private, if Nigeria government decide, of course, fine. But the purpose of it is to have access to education. And you are going to private university, you have access to education. That's why you are in private school, you can afford the fees, and you don't have challenge. So the common masses who does not have access to quality education should be allowed first. That's why they didn't include the private schools. Because the fees in the private school, like what we said earlier, is high. They pay 1.something million, 800,000, and the rest. But in the public, it's not like that. So let's cover the public. That is the purpose for this student loan.
All right, so let's talk about the 24th provision of that law, which has to do with spread of this particular loan. We know government at different times have been accused of, excuse me, accused of lopsidedness. I'm not talking about this government, different government. This government has also been accused of that. So what is NANS doing to ensure that this spread is as equitable as possible? And what do they mean by the spread? Is this by geopolitical zones? So if we have maybe 1,000 people benefiting, we're going to distribute it equally across geopolitical zones, across state. What is spread, equitable spread? What does it mean in practical from the conversations you've had?
Character that if at all 2 million is to apply for it, to be distributed equally to different zones. I think that's what, no zone will be changed. Everybody will be carried along. I think there is a section in the law that recognizes that federal character, how things will be shared to every part of this country. I think that's what they are referring to in that aspect of it too.
I know that you're sort of ruling out or asking for a delay, so to speak, in the inclusion of the private sector in this scheme. But what about students in other state-owned universities? At that public hearing, was there any case for the inclusion, maybe in the short term rather than long term, of students in state universities such that they can also be part of this scheme?
In the beginning, there was no exclusion from state universities. There wasn't at all. In the beginning, even right from the public hearings, state universities are included. So I don't know where that idea of say state university are not, they are included. I think so. The only thing there is that, in the federal institutions, there is no tuition fee, but states have tuition fee. I think that's just the difference. But federal university, they have charges. They are developmental levies in the school that you pay. I think that's what they accumulate as school fees. But in the state university, they pay school fees. There is tuition fees. Yes, that's just the difference. But right from beginning, state and federal, it was captured in the act and so. So they were never in the beginning excluded at all.
The practice has always been to also consider regions that are disadvantaged when it comes to education. So there's perhaps some more premium given to them, or some more expediency in some cases. Even the entry requirements are reduced for them. I'm talking about regions in the north as well. Was the case also made perhaps to have a little more for those in the north compared to those perhaps in the south who have said time and again to have more access to education, and that has been the case over time? Are we going to be seeing that with the students' loan as well?
You know, in institutions, various institutions, they have different conditions for entrance. Like, for instance, the cutoff mark for JAM, some take 250, depending on the school. So in areas where there are low level of participation, that one is no one's fault. Those people, the leaders in those areas, can encourage their citizens, their people to always come out the need for education. That one is not left for the NANS fund to do. In areas where there are much numbers, for instance, south-south, southwest, if there are 1,000 persons from there, and in the north there are 500, it is on the responsibility of the northern leaders to always encourage their citizens to participate, to take education very seriously and let them get involved so that they can benefit numbers from other zones. But I think there will be a general threshold that will be given to every zone too, I think so, in recognition of federal character, so that nobody will be left out, no zone will be left out, everybody will be fully involved too.
All right, so let's talk about some things. And if you look at the act, it's a very short document that anyone can go through. You see that certain things are left to the discretion of the board and the people in charge, that's the management. From your conversation, I use the word conversation a lot because you're a major stakeholder as a leader of the students' body in the country. So you will be in the know as a privileged person beyond what is carried on the news. How much is the maximum a student can access for this particular loan? And let's start with that particular one first before I go to the next question.
I think the board brings out policy. They've not come out with such figure. They've not come out with such figure, but I think the amount that student can access will be enough for the following: tuition fee, hostel accommodation, and feeding. But I don't have a specific amount yet that a student can access yet. I think even the day-to-day running, the board too can make, apart from what is not stated in the act anyway, but the board can formulate that. They know what every institution charge. If someone is applying for school fees alone, they know what it can. There are some school fees that are up to 300, but I am very confident that it will not be more than 500,000 per individual. That is just my own personal views. I think so. But they have not come out with a specific amount to be taken. I think the board and the managing director will come out with that regulation so that it can be enough for everybody.
Just to follow up on that, is there a cap on how often the loan can be accessed, you know, considering the duration of school term or time for a student, for a law student, for instance, that would be 5 years, adding law school, medical students 7 years, and other courses 4 years. So is there a cap on how often an applicant can access the loan?
It's throughout your studies. Those who have 4 years, after applying, you know, you pay these fees for a year. The next year you can apply. The other year you can apply until you graduate. I think that is, you can continuously apply after applying in year one. When you are in 200 level, you can apply. When you are in 300 level, you can apply. Even in your final year, you can apply. Even if your courses are 5 years too, until you graduate, because it's stated until you finish. You finish your NYC, you continuously to apply until you finish your studies.
The reason why we're asking that question in particular, you know, for the fact that you apply doesn't guarantee that you'll get it, because the law is very clear that it's based on available funds. So Are students ready for, some of this disappointment that may happen for some of them? How much of awareness is being done by NANS to say application doesn't necessarily guarantee the fact that you will get it, and these are the reasons?
Yes, we are doing our sensitization. The process is on. We are educating and sensitizing our students. The need, not only just the application alone, the need to give correct and truthful information. Because if you give false information, you can be arrested and be tried for that. It is stated in the act as well. So we ensure, because we know that people who need this thing, because the desire to get it, to fulfill the condition, they will just give fake information. You can be liable for that. So it is our responsibility to continuously sensitize, tell them the disadvantage of giving false information, the consequences as well. So we keep, during the sensitization, we are telling students all of this for them to be acquainted, to know the process and how best to apply for it too.
Something we will need you to do very importantly as we wind down, and it's a review of this government regarding education in the past 1 year. If you are to rate this government, what would be your rating be based on the campaign promises? And I know that NANS is apolitical, so this should be an objective rating. From looking at the campaign promises, what was promised during campaigns, what was said during the inauguration, how would you rate this government on a scale of 0 to 100?
Yes, I think they have improved. As in, yeah, they have, in terms of education, from this introduction of this student loan is highly commendable. We thank the government, the federal government for that. Then in infrastructure, I think they have increased to from level of 40% to about 70. The release of fund to TED fund. I think TED fund have come in to intervene in terms of hostels in all our higher institutions. That is, they are building hostels now, the maintenance of their structures too. It has never happened in the history of this country, the kind of fund released for TED fund now, it's about 600 and something billion. Before it used to be 300, 400. I think in infrastructure, the government is trying in that aspect. The introduction of the
overall, are you scoring government overall pass, excellent, fair, poor? What is that percentage?
No, they are fair. They are fair.
So
I think they are
50%
fair. I cannot say
40.
excellent. I can't say excellent, but they are fair. There is improvement from you. We are no longer where we are before. There is improvement, but not 100% improvement. So it's a continuous process. So we want to commend them for that. Especially TED Fund is doing excellently well in their intervention in our various institutions too. Then on the welfare of students, through building and renovation of our hostels, I think that is highly commendable too. We are happy with that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lucky Monofe, the president of National Association of Nigerian Students. Thank you for coming on the program for your insights.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
All right, so before we wind down, we've been following your thoughts and some of the things you've been saying. So let's take a few of them. Okay, I'm trying to track. Yes, this is from Famous from London, England. He says, the student loan should be amended and passed into law as grants.
And this one also is from another writer. And they say, I agree with the NANS president that private universities should be considered much later after the children of the common man are being attended to.
Well, I see Atinoke underscore TK on X also speaking about this, saying government should invest in free primary and secondary education and provide means-tested and academic scholarships through the tertiary institutions themselves. So we see all of your messages, but we need to touch on this very important one, and it concerns the retired Nigerian police officers' protest at the National Assembly over unpaid pensions. We need to ring this in yet again. And this user, follow underscore Etios, says, it's so sad to see our retired heroes protesting for their rightful pensions. It's unacceptable that they're not being taken care of after dedicating their lives to serving the nation. And you see, this person thinks that's why it's been tough to attract top talent to the police.
Absolutely. So, well, maybe we'll take one more. Alagba Kenneth saying, what are they doing with the pension funds if those who serve Nigeria can lament over unpaid pensions? Hurry up and pay to boost the morals of those still in service. It's a miracle to retire alive, but not in tears. So, those are the ones we can take on the program. So thank you so much for your time and, of course, your usual company. We are going to have Julius the Genius Ago in another day on the program. Couldn't make it to the program today, so we're going to have him on another day on the program, of course. So he's one of the OGs of comedy. Thank you for watching. I'm Jeffrey Uzawa.
Yeah, all of those assessments are, definitely something to reflect on. And thank you for being part of it. We'll return yet again tomorrow with another bumper edition. I am Bukola Koka.
So take this as our heads up. There's been heavy traffic in Lagos as a result of the rains. That's why we're going to have Julius Ago. So plan your trip appropriately. Don't forget to hold your umbrellas so you don't get wet. Sunrise Daily is next, of course. I'm Karaoke Kilu. Goodbye.